In the heart of one of the hottest places on Earth lies a dry, cracked lake bed, silent, still. Nothing grows here, nothing lives here, and yet something moves. Heavy rocks, some as small as fists, others weighing hundreds of pounds, have been spotted, sliding across the desert floor. No animals, no people, no wind strong enough, just motion and long trails in the ground to prove it. Welcome to Racetrack Playa in California's Death Valley. A place where science and silence collide, and the earth itself seems to whisper secrets in the dust. Racetrack Playa isn't just empty, it's eerily perfect. A massive flat stretch of sun-baked clay, about 2.8 miles long and 1.3 miles wide. The surface is dry and cracked like a mosaic of old scars. Surrounded by rocky hills, it's isolated, remote, nearly 3,700 feet above sea level. No roads cross it, no trees grow beside it. The wind howls, but nothing breaks the silence, except the shifting of these mysterious stones. Each rock has a trail, like a wake behind a boat. Some turn sharply, some make wide arcs, some even double back on themselves. And no one, for over a century, truly understood how or why. The earliest documented mentions of the sailing stones go back to the early 1900s, but it wasn't until the 1940s that geologists began to study them seriously. Initial theories? Some thought they were dragged by animals, but no footprints ever appeared. Others blamed strong winds. But how could wind move a 300-pound rock and leave no debris? Then there were the conspiracy theories, magnetism, aliens, earth vibrations, but the truth, as always, was more fascinating and more patient. For decades, scientists visited the playa, took photographs, measured rock positions, and every time they returned, some of the rocks had moved inches, feet, sometimes dozens of meters, and yet no one had ever seen it happen. To understand the mystery, we have to understand the environment. Death Valley is one of the driest places on Earth, less than 2 inches of rainfall per year. But when it does rain, water doesn't soak into the clay. It sits, cools, and spreads, creating a thin layer of slick mud. Then, the desert freezes. That's right. While Death Valley is infamous for heat, nights can drop below freezing, especially in winter. This cycle of rare rain, freezing temperatures, and desert wind was key to unlocking the mystery. But for decades, no one was there at the right moment to actually witness it. In 2011, a team of researchers decided they had waited long enough. Led by Richard Norris and James Norris, the team from Scripps Institution of Oceanography installed something new: GPS-equipped rocks. They weren't guessing anymore. They placed custom rocks with motion sensors. They also set up time-lapse cameras, weather stations, and temperature sensors. Then they waited. Years passed. Then finally, in December 2013, something incredible happened. It began with rain, then an overnight freeze. Thin sheets of ice formed across the playa, with the rocks partially submerged. By morning, the sun had begun to melt the ice, breaking it into floating panels, and then the wind came, but not strong wind, just a light breeze between 10 and 15 miles per hour, enough to slowly, gently push the ice sheets, which in turn nudged the rocks, not by force, but by buoyancy and friction-free motion over the slick mud below. Cameras captured it all, rocks sliding up to 15 feet per minute, leaving trails like scars in the earth. The mystery, after more than 100 years, was solved, and it wasn't magic. It was the perfect combination of natural elements. So here's what has to happen for a rock to sail. Rain must fall on the playa, forming a shallow pool. Cold overnight temperatures freeze the water, creating a thin layer of ice. The ice must begin to thaw in the morning, breaking into floating sheets. A gentle breeze pushes the ice sheets, slowly nudging the rocks. The mud underneath must be soft enough for the rock to glide, but firm enough to leave a trail. Miss any one of those ingredients, and nothing happens. It's an extraordinarily rare phenomenon, which is why so few people have ever witnessed it, and why the mystery lasted for so long. There's something deeply human about this mystery. For over a century, people stared at a dry lake bed and asked the simplest question: how did that rock move? Some built wild theories, some tried to explain it away, some simply stood there in silence. In a world obsessed with fast answers, the rocks of Racetrack Playa refused to be rushed. They moved slowly, only under perfect conditions, and only when no one was watching. Since the 2013 discovery, the rocks have continued to shift sporadically. Most years, they don't move at all. Sometimes the playa floods but doesn't freeze. Sometimes it freezes but no wind comes. So even with our knowledge, the rocks are still elusive. Tourists visit daily, hoping to catch them in motion, but most just walk along the old trails, evidence of something that happened when no one was there. The racetrack stones remind us that the world is still full of slow miracles, things that don't shout, things that take months or years to align and last only a few hours. It wasn't technology that solved the mystery, it was persistence, observation, and a willingness to wait. And in that way, the moving rocks of Death Valley might be one of the most beautiful scientific puzzles we've ever solved. Not because it was big, but because it was quiet. They are not alive, they have no legs, but they have moved. They have written trails across the earth, bent and curved and crossed each other. We're like travelers with nowhere to go and all the time in the world to get there. And perhaps in that movement, we see something of ourselves.